Another part that's kind of still a little foreign to me, a little crazy to me, is that we have seen active head coaches go on social media on the offensive for their program and maybe diminish guys that have left, a la what's gone down with Colorado and Deion
Yeah.
Sanders. And Shador Sanders, frankly, involved in that spat as well. So we look at last year, and I'll be first to admit, like, I'm a Deion Sanders fan. Have been rooting for him from the beginning, and I feel like he was kind of the baby face of college football. Now it's almost like a heel turn where there's a lot of people that are kind of frustrated with his antics on social media, diminishing what a kid did last year, diminishing what his program might do in the future, or diminishing what kids are leaving the program, how good they were, all these other things. So ultimately, as you take a step back and look at how things have gone for Colorado this offseason, how have things changed for Deion Sanders here in year number 2?
Okay, so I love this topic, and I'm glad we're talking about it because
This felt
Deion,
like a Matty topic. It really did.
yeah,
I feel like you'd be all over this one.
Deion came in, and what was the knock coming into year one? Well, he was at the FCS level. And will that approach at FCS, when he had better athletes than everyone, translates to the FBS level in a Power 5? So that was the big thing with Deion. Would it translate for him? Would it translate for Shador? So he comes in, and Greg, we have all this hype. He's on Sports Center, college game days, every morning, everything is like, will this work for Deion? Well, what happens? They win their first game against a team that played for the national championship the prior year. And you're like, oh no, is this really going to happen? And it started happening again. Then they had the thriller against Colorado State. They beat Nebraska. There's this aura around the program. There's celebrities on the sidelines. Deion is the toast of college football. And then they came back to reality and finished 4-8. And so anyone that was still on the Deion's a miracle worker, well, they were 4-8. I get it. They won one game the year prior. Was there improvement? Yes. Is there star power? Yes. Not denying that. So now year 2, Greg. Now you're in a situation where we know what Deion is. We know what Coach Prime is. He loves publicity. He loves promoting Deion Sanders. He loves promoting his kids, and he loves promoting Colorado football. And he's going to do it very in your face. So now you get to the point where this is my method. This is how I'm going to go about it. And I can do it in a very public way because social media is prevalent everywhere you go. It's not different than what happened at Miami back in the day. It's not different than some of these loudmouth programs back in the early 90s, early 2000s. We just didn't have social media. But the caveat there, those teams competed for and won national championships. And Deion is going to have to do one. The hard coaching thing, I don't mind. Because what is everyone bitch and moan about on social media right now anyway? Oh, they're too soft. Oh, they don't compete. Oh, they're this. Well, if they're going to get publicly chastised by their former head, well, that's the hard coaching people want, right? You can question how it's done, but that's what he's doing. He's just doing it very publicly. And so for me, for Prime, I have no problem with how he's handling it. But he, Prime, better not have problems when we as a college football final crew, or you calling a game, or what we do in college football, he can't have a problem when they're not winning and we come after him. Because you can't have it both ways. You can't be the toast of college football and us praise you at first and then be critical when it's warranted. And so he's going to have to get used to it. They're 4-8 again, like with Shador leaving and some of these, Travis Hunter. Well, then what? You know? And so that's my overarching thought. I'm good with him. Do what you got to do. But ultimately, you got to understand, we're going to do what we have to do. And if the product on the field suffers, it's going to get talked about whether he likes it or not.
Yeah, and if some of the issues from last year continue to be issues, then the problem-solving nature that he has been touted for being able to do, I mean, that's quite. If they give up 56 sacks again, that's going to be a huge problem. And frankly, I don't know if that's likely. I hope it's not. But at the same time, man, I mean, I'm still rooting for him. I want it to be successful. I'm good with people doing it a different way. I really am. But I think when you start, loudmouth trashing guys that left the program, that's never a good look, and it's never going to be beneficial to how you're perceived in the court of public opinion.
But he's creating, here's what he's doing. And I want to ask you a question for a follow-up, because what he's doing, Greg, is he's creating me against the world, us against the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so look at how Kenny Dillingham's doing it at Arizona State. When he loses 2 of his best players, he's quote tweeting their decision saying he's the best kid ever. Congratulations. I can't wait to see what you do with your future and who's lucky enough to get you. That's one approach. And then there's the Deion approach. It's like, to hell with you. You weren't that good anyway. If you're not in, you're out. But I do believe, and this is the question I have for you, do you think it's because it's public that we think there's a little bit of dysfunction going on there? Some of the coordinators, the whole situation last year with Coach Lou, like, do you think it's a little bit dysfunctional inside?
I would like to think not.
Okay.
I don't know for certain. I mean, there's
Neither
no
do
way
I.
of knowing.
Right.
Granted, 4-8 will make you feel like there's dysfunction, even if dysfunction doesn't exist. Maybe the personnel was 4-8 last year. It's just the way it was. But I do think that I feel like he was someone that was all about positivity, all about opportunity, all about being able to secure this opportunity and run with it. And now people have turned on him with the way he's handled it. So he had everyone kind of on his side to an extent, not everyone, but a lot of people on his side, and now he's lost some of those people with how he's handled the departures from his program. So he was already in the situation.
Sorry, but like most of what he's saying publicly, well, first at his first team meeting, he had the Louis Vuitton quote, like, I'm bringing my Louis, get ready. Like, some of you guys are going to be out. So we knew from the start what he was going to do. But Greg, I think the biggest difference is the people that are criticizing him publicly aren't used to coaches doing this publicly.
Yeah.
You played for the greatest of all time. I'm sure he said some pretty unsavory things to some players that weren't good enough to play at Alabama behind closed doors, but back in the day, you were stuck with them.
Probably.
Right? So the people that are complaining aren't used to what goes on behind closed doors. And I'll give of all the stuff that I'm like, all right, I'll give him credit. He does it out loud. He's not hiding anything.